Good evening. Before we begin, here's a question. If you traveled back to ancient China and suddenly wanted to go out at night for a snack, what would happen? The answer might not be, "One bowl of hot soup please." It might be, "Excuse me, you may be under arrest." A little inconvenient, right? But that is exactly what makes ancient nights so interesting. Today, we are used to the night. Street lights turn on, phones glow, convenience stores stay open. Even your refrigerator has better lighting than many ancient homes. But for people in the past, when the sun went down, the world really became dark. Night was not simply the second half of the day. Night was another world. Let's begin in Tang dynasty Chang'an. It is dusk. The sky is slowly turning deep blue. People on the streets are packing up. Carts are heading home. Children are being pulled indoors by their parents. Then, from far away, you hear the sound of drums. Boom, boom, boom. This is not background music. This is the city saying, "All right, everyone. Time to go home." Tang Chang'an was a highly organized city. People lived inside walled residential wards called fang. Trade was concentrated in the eastern and western markets. During the day, people could go out, shop, work, visit friends, and run errands. But in the evening, the ward gates closed. The streets became quiet. This was the curfew system. Imagine a Tang scholar visiting a friend for dinner. He only meant to drink a little. But then they started talking about poetry, life, and whose calligraphy was more elegant. Suddenly, time slipped away. Then he hears the evening drum. His face probably looks like a modern person seeing their phone battery drop to 1%. Because if he does not leave quickly, the ward gate will close. And if he is still wandering the streets late at night, the night patrol may stop him. This is not just taking a walk after dinner. Officials may ask, "Who are you? Where are you going? Why are you outside at this hour?" In Tang Chang'an, the streets at night were not places for casual wandering. They were more like rivers temporarily frozen by law. But humans have a very persistent habit. The more you tell people they cannot do something, the more they start wondering, well, can we do just a little bit of it? So by the late Tang period, some places began to see night markets appear. Poems from the time even describe scenes of 1,000 lamps in the night market. But the important point is this: night markets were not always taken for granted. They grew slowly through the cracks of regulation. It was as if the city had become so lively during the day that some of that life began leaking into the night. Now let's move forward in time. We arrive in the Song dynasty, in the northern Song capital of Bianjing, today's Kaifeng. If Tang Chang'an at night was like a closed gate, Song Bianjing at night was like a pot of soup just beginning to boil. Imagine standing near Zhaoqiao Bridge. The sky is dark, but the street is not asleep. Vendors light small oil lamps. Steam rises from cooking pots. Some sell rice dishes. Some sell dried meat. Others sell chicken, duck, goose, rabbit, buns, and all kinds of late-night snacks. If you are hungry, this is basically an ancient food map, just without star ratings, and without delivery. You have to walk there yourself. Lamps line the street one by one. Voices gather near the bridge. Carts move slowly through the crowd. You hear vendors calling out. You smell roasted meat. You see people leaving wine shops, slightly drunk and very pleased with themselves. What is so fascinating about Song cities is that night became part of urban life. It was not only for sleeping. People could eat, drink, watch performances, shop, talk business, and meet friends. Even before sunrise, there were so-called ghost markets. Don't worry, these were not actually run by ghosts. A ghost market was more like a temporary market before dawn. The sky was still dim. Vendors traded by lamplight, selling clothes, paintings, ornaments, and flowers. Then, once daylight arrived, the market disappeared. The name is wonderful. It feels as if these trades did not quite belong to the daytime world, but to that blurry little space between night and morning. But we should not imagine Song night markets as too romantic. Ancient nightlife had one very practical problem. Light was expensive. Today, we turn on the lights with one movement. A finger touches a switch, and the room fills with brightness. Most of us do not even think about where that light comes from. Ancient people did not have that luxury. Ordinary households often used oil lamps. A small lamp held oil and a wick. The flame was tiny. The light was weak. If you wanted to read a little longer at night, you had to burn more oil. If you wanted to sew one more piece of clothing, you had to burn more oil. If a shop wanted to stay open for another hour, the lamp in front of the stall was part of the cost. So here is the sharp truth about ancient nights. Night was not free. Daylight belonged to everyone. But light at night had to be bought. That may be the most powerful point about ancient nightlife. Wealthy families could keep candles burning and host banquets deep into the night. Ordinary people might blow out the lamp early, because tomorrow there was work to do, and oil had to be saved. The same night could mean music, wine, and warm food for one person, and a nearly empty oil lamp for another. So the night view of an ancient city was also a map of social class. Whoever could afford to light the darkness could afford to own more time. And darkness did not only mean saving money, it also meant danger. At night, ancient cities feared two things most: fire and thieves. Many buildings were made of wood. Streets and alleys were crowded. People used fire for cooking, heating, and lighting. One careless spark could become a disaster. That is why night watchmen mattered. A watchman walked through the streets, striking a clapper or gong. The sound traveled into people's homes. Boom, boom. It was not only telling the time, it was also reminding everyone, watch your fire, lock your doors, guard against thieves. In a way, it was an ancient phone notification. Except you could not swipe it away. The sound of the watchman was the heartbeat of the city at night. It told people that someone was still awake, someone was still walking the streets, someone was helping hold the darkness together. If you absolutely had to go out at night, it was better not to go alone. A wealthy person might bring servants and lanterns. An ordinary person would take familiar roads or walk with others. Because a place you knew well in daylight could become strange after dark. A bridge, an alley, a ditch by the road. In the daytime, they were just part of the scenery. At night, they could become trouble. So, what did ancient Chinese people do at night? The answer cannot be reduced to one sentence. In Tang, Chang'an, someone heard the evening drum and hurried home. In Song Bianjing, someone stood before the Zhaokyo night market, waiting for a hot meal. Inside an ordinary house, someone sat beside a small oil lamp, deciding whether the night was worth a little more fuel. And in the dark streets, a watchman walked step by step, reminding everyone to mind the fire and close the door. Ancient night was not empty. It had rules. It had business. It had danger. And it had a little warmth. The most interesting thing is that from Tang to Song, we are not just watching nightlife become more lively. We are watching something bigger happen. Cities were learning how to turn darkness into usable time. Daylight was given by nature. Night had to be negotiated. Managed by rules. Lit by lamps. Paid for with money. Entered with courage. So the next time you go out at night for a snack and see street lights, signs, vendors, and crowds, think of this. 1,000 years ago, someone else was also walking through the dark, following a small pool of lamplight toward a hot bowl of food. Their night was much darker than ours. And maybe, because of that, much more precious.